Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the second of 3 hearings for the Planning and Boundary and Design Committee, also known as PABDAC. Tonight, we are here to present the proposed boundary changes for the Wilson, Madison, Jefferson, and Johnson Elementary Schools. PABDAC members are selected by the governing board to review demographic data, conduct public hearings, and offer recommendations to the governing board concerning changes in school attendance areas, and to offer long-range development plans directed toward future school site selection and offer recommendations to the school board resulting in the formation of proposed school attendance areas. Tonight, we are conducting a public hearing regarding the proposed boundary changes. The hearing is also being recorded and live streamed on the MPS YouTube channel. PABDAC is here to listen to your comments, and district staff will answer your questions or get answers for you. We will use your feedback to inform our decision about the recommendation we will present to the board regarding the boundary changes. Before we get started, we'll have introductions of each of the PABDAC members, and then Mr. Wing will introduce the district staff in attendance. My name is Adam Brown. I've been on PABDAC for about 7 years. I live on the west side, so all my kids go to Emerson, Carson, and Westwood, and I'm a MPS graduate.
Evening, my name is Tom Soper, new PABDAC member. My wife has taught in Mesa Public Schools for the past 20 years at Longfellow, Lehigh, Hale, and Stately.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lupita Almanza. I'm a former educator in MPS. I did 11 years and then 1 year at Apache Indian Reservation. I have 1 child in MPS, and she goes to Taylor. And I graduated from Mesa High. I think we're in that territory, possibly.
Hi, my name is Josh Chilton. I first year on the PABDAC committee. I have worked in education for the Maricopa County Schools Superintendent's Office for the past 5 years or so, and now I'm on to a different nonprofit. But I have a daughter in Mesa Public Schools. She went to Franklin at Jordan for the last 7 years, and now she just started at Rhodes.
Hi, I'm Leslie Wolf. I went to Mesa Public Schools. All my kids graduated from there. My mom taught for Mesa Public Schools. My sister currently does, and I'm happy to be here.
I'm Mike Steffen. I grew up in Mesa, graduated from Dobson High School, and all my children attend Mesa Public Schools right now.
Thank you, PABDAC. Dr. Metcalf, our chair for PABDAC, is running a little bit late, got stuck in traffic, so she'll be here soon. I'm Justin Wing. I'm the chief of staff for Mesa Public Schools. We have a team here to answer some of your questions. Microphone, whether you want to go ahead and start. Anybody want to start?
Yes. Hi, my name is Monica Mesa. I'm the assistant superintendent for East Elementary Schools. Good evening. I'm Arlinda Mann. I'm assistant superintendent for K-8 West Elementary Schools.
Christy Glassmeyer, Senior Research Analyst and Business Intelligence Lead.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Snyder. I'm the Director of Communications and Engagement.
I'm Paul Gibbs. I'm the Senior Program Evaluator and Lead for Strategic Research.
Good evening. I'm Susan Jenny, Executive Director of Human Resources.
Last but not least,
I am Tammy Kirby. I am the Executive Assistant to Dr. Straub and the Governor's Board.
If you have comments or questions, please use the QR code or the computers in the back to sign up to speak. After the presentation, we will call on individuals in the order they signed up. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to share their feedback or ask any questions. Mrs. Kirby will ring a bell at the 2-minute, 30-second mark and ring it twice to indicate that your time is up. District staff will answer questions as we go, so if your question is answered and you do not need to speak, just indicate that when I call your name. We will start with a brief presentation by Mr. Wing, and then we will allow plenty of time for feedback and questions.
Thank you, sir. We wanted to share with you some information going into some of the recommendations. And if you're unable to see the screen, you're welcome to come up. There's plenty of seats here. Yes. Is it? Oh, you got to be real close. Okay. Couple things to consider. One is really impacting Mesa Public Schools. It's impacting our neighbor school districts. It's impacting Arizona. It's impacting the nation. There's a lot less students in the nation. National research in this particular graph shows from 2021 to 2030, 2.8 million less students throughout the nation. Not 2.8 million students less in school districts and public education, potentially going to other choice. No, just in general, a significant decline in the number of students. It reminds me a long, long time ago when I was informed that in business school, when baby boomers retired, the Generation X workforce was a lot lower. So those business owners, if you have any, or maybe you're business owners, you may be experiencing a workforce decline in the 2030s. But in the meantime, it's impacting education. And it's just not throughout the nation. It's also in Arizona, where this graph shows a steep decline in enrollment overall in Arizona. Most of it due to many years of low birth rates, the lowest the nation has ever experienced. How is this impacting East Valley School District, our neighboring districts? Same thing, Mesa being on the top of the orange, you'll see from 2011 till now, there's been a decline. Mesa's been declining since mid-2000s. I think our peak was at 72,000 students. We're around 54,000 overall now. But we're not alone. Gilbert, I was talking to Gilbert, they've projected about 1,400 students down, and they are quite a bit down this school year. Chandler, etc. We revised this last week, this slide. You may have read about it or seen it on the news. But Kyrene may be considering closing 8 to 9 schools. The reason, decline of student enrollment. There are other districts that are closing. This is my 30th year in public education. And I recall, with the exception of the last 5 years, the only time a school was ever closed is when the superintendent was in his or her last year, or the board was in their first or last year, because of the emotion involved in closing schools. But at Mesa Public Schools, we're trying to avoid closing schools. We're trying to maximize our schools, and that's where we're going to get into some more information. So about a year ago, there have been more. The last school year, we've had a significant amount of parents reach out to Mesa Public Schools, superintendent, governing board, even went to call in public, requesting that the district consider expanding our Franklin schools from a K-8 school model to a K-12 model. So in return, we sought more information. We surveyed our Franklin parents to see if they were interested in a K-12 model, and it was very popular. Huge weight of interest in expanding to a K-12 school. So we surveyed. I'm not an expert behind this, but when you survey, you look at a promoter score, 42 is considered very, very strong, meaning that it's a good risk for a school district to take the promoter score of 42. That means there's strong interest. Another slide. How likely might you be to enroll your student in the Franklin High School program? Extremely likely. We did have 2 Franklin listening sessions over the last month, and over 350 parents attended, with a strong majority very interested in the expansion of the Franklin K-12 model. Here's the issue. Franklin Brimhall has 55 classrooms. We need about 70 if we were to go to a K-12. And that does not include having space for special areas. So 70 or 69 would be the minimum. Well, the special areas, you're looking in the mid to late 70s. They don't have the space. So the district wants to expand to a K-12 model. We have to look at other considerations. Okay? We looked at 4 elementary schools that were close in proximity to the Brimhall campus: Wilson, Johnson, Madison, and Jefferson. We also looked at other criteria. We looked at the students enrolled in each of those schools and the trend. To share, Wilson Elementary School in the 5-year period has declined by 40% enrollment. The other 3 schools has not been as significant, although all of them are declining. Which schools have a self-contained program and which ones do not? That was in consideration as well. We also looked at our population of who's attending currently a Franklin Brimhall School. About 146 families, or students, excuse me, in the Wilson boundaries are currently attending Brimhall. No other school has over 100. We looked at smaller campuses. Because we're declining enrollment, we couldn't look at a school with 45 classrooms because that would not be conducive if we were to go to the K-12 Franklin model. We'd have that way more space than needed. And then we also looked at the boundaries. And you'll see in the gray here, apologize if it's dimmed with the projector, we have a Wilson boundary that they pass on the bus Johnson, which is their closest school, travel to Wilson. So that was also a consideration. For those who may ask what's Wilson's enrollment look like, I mentioned how it's declined by 40% in 5 years. 21-22, there's about 570 total students. We projected 373 this year, staff based on 373. And at a certain point in time, a week or two ago, it was at 349. So it's even lower than projection. Our 6th grade class is at 70 kids in Wilson, and our kinder is 41. So we have a big discrepancy. So when our 6th graders next year go to 7th grade, they'll be declining even more like Wilson Elementary. So again, just a reminder of our current boundaries. It was recommended and PABDEC voted in their initial voting to move to this option to share to our community in hearings such as this. And basically, it's not quite a straight line just because of the streets, but Jefferson would absorb a portion, that little square box right there underneath Jefferson, the dark blue. Madison would go straight down, excuse me, and then Johnson would absorb that unique boundary decision that was made years ago, and that little square on the south side as well. What would be the impact of the schools? Just want to remind districts are considering closing schools. They're going from 0 to 100, and we're looking at avoiding closing their schools. So yes, we're looking at expanding the Franklin model K-12 to high parent interest, but we're also looking at maximizing their schools, which means in this case, some of the Wilson families will be able to go into other small schools, the 3 schools, Johnson, Madison, and Jefferson, with the hopes of building its capacity at its schools. And so you'll see here, based on projections, Jefferson would still have room for about 240 students. Johnson 85 and Madison 66. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was based on projections going in this year. And Wilson being lower, for example, the capacity to have even more students is greater because of it being lower than projections. In case you have questions about transportation, we asked transportation to provide a model or a quick map of our current transportation guidelines. It's within a 1-mile radius of the school, so this is not changing. So you'll see Johnson there in the green. Anything around that school would not be transported. Anything beyond that in the green would be transported. Again, these guidelines are not changing. This is a visual for folks to see. Communications, we added this from our slide last week. We had a lot of questions on communication. We did send, according to our policy, a mailer to all homes in the community. It wasn't parents' homes, it was all homes. And the U.S. Postal Service shared with us that over 31,000 mailers were delivered to those communities, Wilson, Johnson, Madison, Jefferson. We put it on Parent Square twice. And one time in mid-August, we had about 2,300 notified. And our latest, September 2nd, we had 3,800 families notified. Last week, we also sent flyers home with each student to these. Some have questions on staffing. We'll have all the answers because PABDEC still has a date to finalize their vote and their recommendation to the governing board. The governing board still has to consider and approve or deny that recommendation. But we know some things. One is the K-4 teachers at Franklin Brimhall will go to Wilson. It will be a Franklin Wilson. Franklin Wilson will be a K-4 school. Brimhall will be a 5-12 school. Not ideal. We're assuming some of the Wilson students will remain in Franklin, so we have to account for that. And we'll see after 1 year as far as enrollment. But it's possible the following year, Franklin and Wilson will go to a K-5 school, and the fourth graders will just remain in that school in the fifth grade. And then the Brimhall will go from a 5-12 to a 6-12. And those fifth graders won't be impacted because they're just going in the sixth grade. Okay. Teachers currently at Wilson, some of them will have options to remain at Wilson, but they do have to meet the Franklin expectations and the model as well. Somebody at Wilson last week mentioned that that none of the teachers were interested. That person can't really speak for all the teachers, but perhaps that's what they're hearing in the teachers lineup. If they're not remaining at Franklin, we will be placing at another school. We do need teachers in Arizona, so we'll place at another school. And Human Resources has procedures on how that works for our district. Office staff, facility assistant will likely remain at the school that they're currently housed. Other classified positions, our decisions haven't been made yet, but they will be made, and Human Resources will be meeting at those schools to share whether or not they can remain at the school or we can find a different job within Mesa Public Schools. We do have openings for classified jobs now, but the potential is they're not guaranteed a job in their current school, their current role. They may have to be willing to go to another school in the same role or in a different role as well. Mrs. Mann, would you be so kind to give us a brief overview of the Franklin model? Thank you.
So oftentimes people ask, well, what is this Franklin model? Why is it so different from my neighborhood school? So there's a variety of things that go into the Franklin model. There's a delivery of instruction. It's direct instruction. And then there's very strict guidelines on dress and grooming. So as a district, we have expectations for dress and grooming. So the Franklin schools follow that, and in addition, they have another layer of things that they require students to wear or not wear. Not uniforms, though, within the regular clothing. And then there's an expectation that every child will complete homework, and that parents will be involved with their students in completing that homework, and that's done nightly. And it's set apart by grade level, how many minutes of homework they will have to complete every night. And there's still PE, like you would find in a neighborhood school. There's still music. There's band and orchestra. As far as grading the work that the students complete, it's a different scale. Normally you find 90 to 100 as an A, 79 to 80 as a B, 79 to 70 as a C. The Franklin model is a little bit different in that 94 to 100 is an A. So it's a higher, there's a higher threshold to reach to be able to achieve that A within the Franklin School. And that's communicated up front to parents and students. Another thing that really helps the Franklin model thrive is the amount of parent involvement. Every parent who chooses the Franklin model for their child knows that they're also choosing as a parent to be fully involved in the education. And all of that is explained up front to parents as they sign up for parent talks. They have to tour the school, and they have to observe in a classroom so that they fully understand what they're signing up for when they sign their children up to be part of the Franklin community. There's also committees that parents are required to be a part of. That's what helps the school work, is the parent involvement. Okay, so opportunities for students. Students who currently attend Wilson can attend the Franklin at Wilson School as long as they complete the Franklin enrollment. There's a misconception out there that there's an application in order to be able to attend a Franklin school, and that is not the case for kindergarten through 6th grade. In junior high and high school, it's a different process. Yes, there is an application for that, but there's not for elementary. But in what I talked about, that the parents have to sign up to do classroom visits, in that there's a video that the parents will watch explaining what exactly it is that they're signing up for. So can a student who currently attends Wilson Elementary School be part of the Franklin Wilson School? Absolutely. Do they have to have a special GPA or a special ability level? No. They have to be willing to put in the work. Parents have to be willing to support the school and the child through that process. And they just have to know that at Franklin, the students tend to work a grade level ahead as far as curriculum resources and standards go. So by the end of kindergarten, they've completed the kindergarten standards, but have already started halfway through the 1st grade standards. So they're always working about a half a year ahead. So parents need to understand that that's what they're signing up for. And it's a model that works for many of our children and many of our parents, but not for everybody. And that's a great thing about Mesa Public Schools, is there's the opportunity for choice. And we hope that everybody's able to find a place within Mesa Public Schools.
Yeah, we just added this slide just for an awareness. Every year we look at our specialized programs, availability of classrooms at schools, also the attendance, where the students are coming from. Sometimes we have a program at one school, but the majority of students are located in a different school boundary. So we just want to be transparent of there are potential specialized moves when doing this, but there are also specialized moves that may happen even when you don't make a shift in boundary changes. The moderate program here at Johnson, a preschool program, are 2 examples. Nothing's been decided, but specialized programs are reviewed every year. So now we're here for questions. Mr. Brown, Dr. Metcalf. Dr. Metcalf, you want to introduce yourself and then? Thank you, Mr. Brown.
All right, good evening. Can you hear me? It's smarter than me. All right. Oh, okay. I'm Dr. Laura Metcalf, and I have been an educator for 30 years. And I graduated from Westwood High School. I lived in Mesa my entire life, and my son graduated from Mountain View High School. I currently serve as a principal for a school in Central Phoenix, and I am the chair of PABDAC. I have been on the PABDAC committee for 10 years at this point, almost 11. So what we'll be doing at this point is there are some questions that have come in when you scan the QR code and you've entered in your question. So what I'll be doing is reading your name, and then if you have asked not to be, if you have asked for not to come up and address the PABDAC committee, then I will read your question, and then if you have asked to have an opportunity to address us, then I'll just read your name and then you can come up, or the microphone will come to you. Okay, our first question was submitted by Jamie Klein, and that question is, if preschool has to leave, what school will preschool be moved to?
That's going to be to be determined. Each year, the district looks at the attendance of where students tend to go to preschool. example, I believe Johnson more, if I'm not mistaken, I was told more preschoolers attend Johnson than the Johnson community. So whether changes made or not, our student services department looks and try to maximize this and make sure that the programs are closer to where a large portion of preschool enrollment is coming from.
Our next question is submitted by Dan Erickson, and he would like the opportunity to address.
Quick note, sorry Dan, at the very end we'll share a website link. There'll be an FAQ, so we'll be maintaining that, and we'll include questions from last hearing and tomorrow's too, just so that.
First, let me say thank you to everybody who's putting in a lot of effort and doing it for the good of the students. We really appreciate it, especially how you're being tasked with doing more with less. As parents, it means the world to us that you are willing to do that, especially with the rising charter schools and taking those resources combined with the low birth rates 15, 20 years ago. So I'm a parent. I have a student right now at Johnson. My daughter attended Franklin for 2 years and is now at Mesa High. And so my questions are coming from two directions. Specifically, and I appreciate the numbers that were shown. It looks like here at Johnson it would be just a few students that would be added to each grade. But ultimately, I would love to know what's going to happen. Basically, are the teachers and the class sizes here going to need to just absorb those needs, or are there going to be additional resources given so that the students and the families can have the level of attention that we have become used to? Or are, like everybody else, are we just going to have to do more with less? And then secondly, I would just like to be a strong local component of the Franklin High School model. We made the unfortunate decision to actually pursue having our daughter go elsewhere because going from Franklin to the Mesa High School that she was scheduled with, it was not our ideal, but we ended up going through with it anyway. And while she is resilient, the challenges that she's facing with the students that are there and the lack of basically going from the Franklin model to the non-Franklin model, it's a big change. And we expect our students to perform well, and she is, but for the benefit of the students who are used to the Franklin model, I implore you to please make this an option, to please give our students the opportunity, and again, I want to thank you for your efforts, and trust you.
Thank you, Dan. To answer the question on the staffing for Johnson, we're going to apply. We're not changing our staffing formula after the 40th day, late October. Research and evaluation team will project student enrollment for the following year. That projection will go to human resources, Ms. Jenny and her team, and they're going to apply the governing board formula to determine the staff that is provided to each school. So sometimes, because you're gaining more students, it could result in another grade level teacher role. Sometimes one student doesn't provide that. So it's just going to be depending. We are going to be based, because we are recognizing that those in the Wilson community that would be aligned, if PABDEC continues to vote on September 29th and the board approves it. I know those are just assumptions, but if those votes are made and we move forward with this, we'll take into consideration. So sometimes what we don't know how many will go to Wilson versus stay at Franklin Wilson, or how many go to Johnson. So we're going to staff based on assuming all of them are going to Johnson. So there could be an overstaff the first year because not all of them come, but we have to make sure we're prepared and not trying to find a bunch of teachers in August, which is maybe really difficult to do. So we're going to apply our current staffing formulas, acknowledging or understanding we're going to have some students from Wilson. Okay.
All right, thank you. Our next question is submitted by Brianna Marks. She does not, I will read those questions. Number one, how will teacher selection be made? How will Wilson teachers be placed? There's a number of them stacked on top of each other. I'll read them all and then I'll break them down for you. Next question in this is there a chance that some Johnson teachers will be moved to make room for Wilson teachers? if there is not enough enrollment to provide space for both Johnson and Wilson teachers and staff. So let me go back and repeat that first one. How will teacher selection be made? How will Wilson teachers be placed?
To begin with, Johnson teachers will remain unless they choose to go through a voluntary transfer and seek other teacher roles within Mesa Public Schools. No different than they have that opportunity every year. All teachers in Mesa Public Schools has that opportunity to turn a transfer. Wilson teachers, if they choose not to remain at Franklin Wilson, Human Resources is exploring ideas about maybe having some preferential interviews for openings that are available in Johnson, Madison, and Jefferson. So we're looking at that. We won't know that probably until November, and we'll be communicating that specifically to each of the, definitely Wilson teachers, but Johnson teachers will remain here for that. We do have an involuntary transfer process that could be adhered to too, which sometimes the Wilson teacher may not want to be placed at a school. They may want to have the opportunity to consider other teacher roles in other schools beyond those 3 schools, Johnson, Madison, and Jefferson. So we have to take that consideration as well. But Human Resources, similar to the classified staff, they'll be engaged if the board approves it. They'll be engaged with them quite often as far as their experiences going into next year. But they are a Mesa Public School employee. We want them to remain in Mesa Public School.
Next question is there a chance that some Johnson teachers will be moved to make room for Wilson teachers if there is not enough enrollment to provide space for both Johnson and Wilson teachers and staff?
We're not displacing Johnson teachers.
All right, next question. Will start times be impacted at any of the schools?
I don't believe Johnson's schools are being impacted, elementary schools. The only one that's being looked at is the Franklin and Wilson, and Franklin and Brimhall, and making the best efforts to align times with those 2 schools, but that has not been decided yet. That's hard work that transportation is currently working on. School start times, you can probably guess, is predicated based on transportation. And you only have so many buses, and you certainly only have so many bus drivers. So that, in any district, really is the main push of why schools start at whatever times. They're looking into it. It's not been decided by today, though. There'll be a question that we answer if the board approves it, likely later in the winter.
Okay, thank you. Our next questions, there are 5 of them, were submitted by Brooke Cook, and she would like the opportunity to address.
Hello. I wrote mine out so I don't get off topic. Hello, my name is Brooke Cook. I am a former Mountain View graduate, and I have 3 students here at Johnson. I want to begin by saying I am a strong believer in neighborhood schools. I believe when families choose to invest in their local school, it builds community, strengthens neighborhoods, and gives kids that village feeling where friends are also neighbors and kids are raised with strong communities built around their homes. I understand that boundary changes are needed, and I commend the district for creative efforts to keep schools open, staff employed, and students in the district will also find ways to reduce costs. I know enrollment is declining and competition from outside schools is growing. These are difficult and emotional decisions. That said, I have concerns about equity, particularly how Franklin schools are treated compared to neighborhood schools. Franklin parents are required to be involved, so their voices are inevitably louder, and it feels like those voices are shaping district decisions disproportionately. Transportation is one example, as we just discussed. We've heard repeatedly about bus driver shortages and financial strain due to transportation, including most recently from Mr. Moore and Dr. Strong at the last governing board meeting. Yet Franklin Elementary at Brimhall, a parent choice school, currently has 8 bus routes for elementary schools, while other parent choice families must provide their own transportation if they choose to attend a school outside their boundary. Down my own street, Franklin parents drive to the bus stop, often waiting in their cars for 5 to 10 minutes for the bus pickup when it's only a 4-minute drive down the road to the school. This feels like unequal and excessive use of resources. At Franklin's public meeting, the principal also stated they are working, as you did tonight, to prioritize similar start times for both campuses for family convenience. This is frustrating because no other school community receives, or even those attending within their boundaries, get start times tailored around convenience across different schools in their area. Facilities are another concern. At the last session, Mr. Moore was there and answered my question and explained that there is very limited budget for facility improvements with these changes. At Johnson, our marquee outside hasn't been replaced with the digital board because the district said we were considered low priority due to lack of visibility from the main road. With Franklin's new Wilson campus needing name changes on items around campus, it will likely receive upgrades like these, even though it isn't visible from a main street. While I understand some changes have to be made, I would like the decision makers to understand that it is extremely frustrating as a volunteer for the PTO who struggles to raise funds for these types of improvements to consider the new Brenwall Wilson getting improvements after our district requests are repeatedly denied. This is just one example. So I have a few questions. I submitted all 5 to be read and answered separately. Number 1, why are Franklin schools given transportation privileges not offered to other parent choice programs? 2, why are Franklin families being promised priority on start times when no other community receives that consideration? 3, does the PAPDAC influence transportation and scheduling? And if not, how are these concerns passed on to these decision makers? 4, will transportation and scheduling plans be public before enrollment opens, or at least before the end of the school year, so the families can decide on the school with full transparency? And last, and a different topic, I don't think Shepherd's been discussed yet tonight, but with both Franklin High School and Shepherd College Prep proposed to open next year, has the district surveyed families, and why are we launching 2 similar programs at the same time? In closing, I ask that neighborhood schools not be overlooked. Franklin will always have strong advocacy. What we need is equal attention, resources, and transparency for the families who continue to choose and strengthen their local schools.
I certainly did not remember all the questions, so we'll take one at a time, okay?
I can read them for you. Okay. Number 1, why are Franklin schools given transportation privileges not offered to other parent choice families?
Anybody want to help me out? I don't know the history of Franklin transportation. I do know that the current guidelines will not change if you move to Franklin Wilson. This is me.
Yes. So when we created school, and when we created Summit Academy as a choice school, and when we created Mesa Academy as a choice school, we created transportation boundaries for those choice schools. That's different than I, as a parent of a neighborhood school, I'm choosing to transport or choosing for them to go to a school across town that doesn't have a specialized program. I'm just choosing that. So we don't provide transportation for one parent just choosing to go to another school. We do provide transportation for a parent choosing to go to one of our choice schools. And that's because our choice schools have specialized programs that don't necessarily exist on other campuses. However, I will tell you that you are correct. Transportation is an issue. Having bus drivers is an issue. So when we are the most recent school that we created as a choice school, Serine Montessori, we do not provide transportation for them. So we are allowing our legacy schools to continue to have transportation, but the new school that we created 2 years ago, we don't have transportation for them. So not all choice schools, I guess, are created equal.
Thank you.
Our next question, number 2, why are Franklin families being promised priority on start times when no other community receives that consideration?
Me personally, I'm not aware of any promise. It's not guaranteed we can align the start times. Just like maybe perhaps some of you have really requested over the past couple of years for our high schools to start earlier. While we continue to research and explore that opportunity, just that number of buses and the number of bus drivers just get in the way.
Third question, does PAPDAC influence transportation and scheduling? And if not, how are these concerns passed on to those decision makers?
PAPDAC, I can go to the purpose of PAPDAC. That's not one of the purposes of PAPDAC. Somebody referred to Tyler Moore, Mr. Moore, our Chief Business Officer. Any questions, you can direct with him. You can also contact me, and I'll be able to give those questions to the appropriate people with questions on transportation.
Question 4, will transportation and scheduling plans be public before enrollment opens so families can decide on a school with full transparency?
A lot of transportation decisions will not be made until PAPDEC's vote on September 29th and the governing board's vote on October 23rd. Then they're going to put in tons of hours. It seems like a simple endeavor, but it absolutely is not. It takes a lot of time and resources to do rerouting and all that kind of stuff. So I can't say it's definitely not going to be known in November, for example. But I'm assuming also that they're going to make every effort to notify parents as early as possible. So that may be a to be continued question and answer.
All right, question 5 has 2 parts. First part, with both Franklin High School and Shepherd College Prep proposed next year, has the district surveyed families?
District surveyed Franklin families for a potential K-12 model. The district has also surveyed Shepherd families regarding the Shepherd model, which are 2 different models. Dr. Gibbs, anything else to add to that?
Second part of this question, why launch 2 similar accelerated programs at the same time instead of investing more of their time and energy into one?
Certainly, we're in a position now where we need to look at our options to maximize all of our student campuses. And if we don't, we're going to be a picture in that school closure. Shepherd has declined tremendously. We've also had parents strongly have interest in a college prep academy high school, a smaller high school. We're also looking at if there's school choice in Arizona. Remember, Arizona is a leader in school choice. We want that school choice to be made within Mesa Public Schools. So we're looking at all opportunities to meet all interests of all parents. So that's why we're exploring both options.
Kylie Glover submitted that she is just here for information. Our next question comes from Brooke Book. She would like to have this question answered, so therefore I will read the question. Johnson lost our Title I status this year. Our numbers were at 39% as of October, and I believe, we need 40% plus to get Title I again. When does Title I status get determined, since we potentially have a large influx of students coming next year who may push us into Title I again? Again, there's several parts to this. That's the first part. If we do get Title I status back in the next couple of years, how will this affect capacity for students? Since we recently removed 5 portables and filled most of those spaces previously used by this Title I, by Title I programs. Let me read the first part again. So the question of the first part is, when does Title I status get determined, since we potentially have a large influx of students coming next year who may push us into Title I again?
I'm going to have Dr. Gibbs help me on this, but as I shared in an earlier response to Dane's question, I believe we staff based on projected enrollments. We don't get Title I status based on projected enrollments, so we have to actually know real enrollments, and that will be best guess October of next year.
The next part of this, if we do get Title I status back in the next couple of years, how will this affect capacity for students? Since we recently removed 5 portables and filled most of those spaces previously used by Title I programs.
A couple things to begin with. Even if assuming all of Wilson's projected students going this year and that boundary of Johnson goes to Johnson, we would still have a capacity of 85 students that could be attending Johnson. So there's possible rooms available for it. The other part too, and it's probably a little premature, going into this year's Title I schools have more choice on the goals that they want to use, they want to have on our campus based on their comprehensive needs assessment and their goals. So in order to answer that, we would need to know what their assessment is, their needs, what their goals are. Some schools choose to do reading interventions, for example. Do they have available room and space to do that? Can that be a pushing model? There's just a lot of things that would be unknown right now. But if they were to be Title I, they would receive an allocation to select for some staff, extra staff to meet the needs of the students.
Okay, our next question is submitted by Kylie Glover. She would like to have this question answered, so therefore I will read the question. How will this impact local high schools, specifically Mesa High? We don't want to lose good families from our high schools that we love.
Hopefully I interpret the question correctly. If not, my deepest apologies. And my team members can help me out on this. A couple things to note. Forgive me if I'm mistaken by a little bit, but about 60% of our Franklin 8th graders do not attend a Mesa public school at all. We just heard a community member, a parent mention that their struggles and decisions as well as that. So we anticipate obtaining more students and keep them in Mesa public schools as a whole, as a district. But going back to parent choice, parents have a lot of choice in Arizona. We're the leaders in it, so if they choose not to send their student to a comprehensive high school, they're going to make a selection elsewhere. So again, going back to the parent choice, the parent has what's best for their children. So I don't know if it's going to really make a big impact. What's making a big impact to high schools, by the way, is that low birth rate for a long period of time, over a decade. Elementary schools were really hit with low enrollment and staffing. Their sixth graders leaving was greater than their kindergartens coming up. All of those cohorts are now hitting the high schools. So high schools have a lot less enrollment. And it's not because of any changes, because the small kinder from 10 years ago was a small first grade, and a small second grade. It just keeps coming up, and now it's hitting high schools and other neighboring school district high schools as well.
What percentage did you say of
16% of 8th graders don't stay here. And what's also not known, or not shown, or not asked, maybe this is a question. 2,300 of our students who live in our boundaries attend Gilbert Public Schools right now. 800 Gilbert Public School students are in their boundary attend our schools. And you'll see south of Wilson, although they don't give us all the data, we're losing a lot of our Mesa Public School boundary students to those Gilbert ones, and they put academies in those boundary schools on purpose. Another reason for that Franklin K-12 consideration.
All right, our next question was submitted by Heather Grant. She would like to have the question answered, therefore I will read the question. Has the board taken into consideration the infrastructure of the neighborhood and how it will handle the large parent drop-offs and pickup numbers compared to typical neighborhood schools? Other Franklin campuses have larger roads next to the campuses and a large designated drop-off location that makes it safer for the students and less disruptive for the homes near the school.
Not entirely, but I will share that Johnson Elementary School was built for a capacity near 900. And even with, that's assuming all of the Wilson converted to Johnson boundary students attend Johnson and not like Franklin and Wilson or whatever. That'll be about 700. You'll still have, there still should be capacity on the roads for parent drop-off, buses for transportation as well. It doesn't have the volume Johnson used to have years ago. Same thing with like Wilson when it was 570. I don't have Johnson's numbers on here. It was Wilson 5 years ago, it was at 579. Now they're at 349. Transportation is a lot different. I heard a story, Skyline High School, going a little squirrel here, but Skyline this year shared how smooth the first day of drop-offs were for students. They're also down 400 students, and so there is a correlation with that as well. But you may be getting, how many more students in this one? 115 at the max probably for Wilson.
All right, our next question is submitted by Sam Briner, and he would like the opportunity to address.
I should have been prepared like Brooke. Amen to what Brooke said. So I have 3 students here at Johnson. I am from out of state. I am very unfamiliar with the junior high situation, the high school situation. I do have a lot of concerns. I feel for Dan and his story, his daughter at Mesa High. That's very concerning to me. I also resonated a lot with what Brooke said, as I want to support our neighborhood schools. So one of my questions was answered. It was about what impact will this have on Mesa High. In my opinion, it seems like it's going to bridge. There's probably already a white gap between those who go to Franklin, and now it's just going to be even wider. The problem that Dan is experiencing is going to be worse. So my second question is, will there be open enrollment at the new Franklin High School?
What was the first question for you?
Well, the first question was answered because it was about how this will impact Mesa High. And the second was,
I just don't want to lose the first question if you had one. The second question, will there be open enrollment in Franklin High? The answer is yes. We're not going to go straight to 9-12. We'll go 9th grade first and still build. So if a family has a 12th grader or a junior going to senior next year at Mesa High, for example, they're not going to have a spot for Franklin to go just for the 12th grade. That's typical when a school goes from a K6 to K8. Following year 7th grade, the next year after that is 8th grade. It's new schools
There's
as
an
well.
application for the high school,
It's not an application, but it's the same process that Mrs. Mann, if you want to explain. I got help.
But like, you're in 8th grade, you can compete for 9th grade.
There is an application to enter the 7th grade right now, and the application process will continue. If you're currently an 8th grader at Franklin Brimhall and the board approves this, you will automatically go into 9th grade without having to do an application. Any student who is currently not in the Franklin model who wants to join 9th grade will have to complete the application because the 7th grader that is now in 9th completed it in 7th grade to get into the Franklin model. We are capping each grade level at 150 students. We're looking at Franklin and Brimhall as being a small high school option. And so if we don't cap it at 150 per grade level and we enroll, we lose our goal of having it be a small high school.
Thanks for asking that question.
Our next question is submitted by Samantha Hildreth. She has asked that the question be answered, so therefore I will read the question. Referring to the slide with the proposed bus routes, it looks like the gray circle for walking distance covers main crossroads, one in particular where I live south of Southern Avenue. Currently, those children in my neighborhood are bused. I'm not sure if this is correct, but I thought the previous guideline was to bus to neighborhoods that cross major roads. Are the previous guidelines changing? That's one part. The second part, how does the district expect kindergartners and younger grade level children to cross major roads? Can we repeat that first part?
No, the guidelines are not changing. This is not an end-all be-all visual. There's other stipulations. It just would take a lot more work. So what this point was, just to kind of give an idea that it's within a 1 mile radius. But main crossroads, canals that cut off, we're not going to have the student walking, even though they're 0.5 away from the school, they have to walk 1.5 miles to get to the school. There's some things in here that it's not an end-all be-all. It's just in pencil. Just trying to preempt some questions that may come up on transportation. But as some of you know, your neighborhoods are very unique, and that's what takes transportation a long time to route. Very unique skill and expertise that's needed to route.
Okay, our next question is submitted by Heather Grant. She would like the question answered, therefore I will read the question. First question. The writing road to reading, also known as the Spalding method, is the core to Franklin's school curriculum. It is how teachers are evaluated and what really sets us apart from other schools. The curriculum is a K-6 curriculum. Teacher in-services and training align with this method. Can you explain why this is being disregarded when moving the elementary to a K-4 model? That's the first question. The second question is, are there other schools that you looked at that have used the K-4 model that are successful, high-achieving schools? So let me repeat that first one again. Can you explain why this is being disregarded when moving the elementary to a K-4 model when it comes to the Spalding method?
I'm not sure I understand that question, but Mrs. Mann does. Or maybe she doesn't, I don't know.
We are not disregarding the Spalding in K4. The Franklin program that exists right now at Brimhall K6 is the program that would move to Wilson K4. Spalding does run through 6th grade. It's not in the 7th and 8th grade and beyond, but we would take that same program that we do with Spalding and we would do it at Wilson, so we're not disregarding it.
Teamwork, thank you.
Here's the second question.
Could you tell me that question again?
The next question is, are there other schools that you looked at that have used the K4 model that are successful, high-achieving schools?
In Makefield Public Schools, this will be our first K4 model, but we do know that across the nation, across the state, there's K3 models, there's K5 models, there's K8 models, and so do we know of a specific K4 model that's successful? I don't, if our team does, but we know that it's going to carry the same high expectations at the K4 model that we currently have at the K6. Okay. With 5th grade staying at Brimhall because of capacity, they will also have the Spalding model in 5 and 6 at Brimhall. So the K4 at Wilson, K5, 6 at Brimhall, Spalding, K6, we have Franklin East, we have Franklin Downtown, we have Franklin Jordan. They're all K6, they all do the Spalding model.
At this time, there are no other questions that have been submitted.
We have time for more questions.
Next, just a quick clarifying question. Mike, sure. So you had mentioned with the new, with the Franklin High School that it would originally start with just 9th grade. So then basically any kid who is not currently in Franklin is never going to be in Franklin High School. Is that correct? My daughter's in 9th grade. She'll never have the opportunity to go to Franklin.
She'll have to apply.
She's currently in 9th grade, so she's going to be a year ahead. Sometimes timing, it unfortunately doesn't work out.
So my question is, will you guys be looking at the number of students with IEPs that come from Wilson to Johnson? And will that possibly impact resource teachers coming in?
Yeah, we'll be looking at all of our students coming to Johnson, those with or without IEPs, as far as determining staffing, which is close to your question. Yes, that will take place. Other questions?
The 2 questions that were already asked verbally were already entered into the system, and there are no other submissions at this time.
I'm going to give you a few minutes. We'll stick around too if you have individual questions. We're stalling a little bit to see if one comes in. No, none come in. Okay. We're going to have a hearing tomorrow too. It'll be at Madison Elementary, 5 to 7. So, if you have some questions and head to your car, like, oh, I forgot to ask these, you're welcome to come and submit questions. Same QR code, but you're welcome to come tomorrow as well.
Okay. All right, then I've been given the script and get the hook. The end of the evening. Thank you so much for attending this evening. Your questions and feedback are very important to this process, and we appreciate each of you. If you have additional thoughts or questions you would like to share, please use the email address boundaries@mpsaz.org to share those. All of the questions and answers tonight will be added to the FAQ section of the district website. Potential school opportunities for 2026-27. That's the name of the website. The 3rd and final hearing will be tomorrow, September 10th, at Madison Elementary School beginning at 5 p.m. The 2nd hearing is adjourned.